Stop what you're doing, because this is not just another messy celebrity rumor. This is a full-blown family explosion with real consequences, real receipts, and a sisterhood hanging by a thread. Tamar Braxton didn't just clap back. She didn't subtweet. She didn't storm off a stage, or cry in a confessional. This time, she allegedly walked straight into a courtroom, and the target was her own sister. Sources say the moment Tamar realized something was wrong, her entire world tilted. A credit card statement. A few charges that didn't add up. Cities she hadn't been to. Stores she swore she'd never stepped foot in. At first, she thought it was a glitch. Then she thought it was a scam. But what happened next reportedly made her stomach drop in a way no reality TV fight ever could. Because the trail didn't lead to a stranger. It allegedly led straight back to Towanda. And that's when the Braxton family story took a turn nobody was prepared for. Insiders claim this wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't, "I forgot to ask." This was a pattern that had been quietly building while smiles stayed public and resentment stayed buried. When Tamar finally confronted it, what she allegedly heard back shattered whatever trust was left, and pushed her to make a decision that could permanently fracture the family. Now lawyers are involved. Documents are rumored to exist. Screenshots are allegedly circulating. And the silence from the rest of the Braxtons is louder than any statement could be. Because once money, betrayal, and blood collide, nothing stays private for long. And this story, it's only just beginning. The moment Tamar's phone lit up with that notification, everything she thought she knew about loyalty snapped in half. It wasn't a screaming match. It wasn't a shady blog post. It was numbers. Cold, undeniable numbers staring back at her from a credit card statement that made absolutely no sense. Charges stacking up in cities she hadn't been to. Boutiques she'd never walked into. A luxury spa she didn't even like. At first, she laughed it off, assuming it was fraud, the kind celebrities deal with all the time. But the laugh didn't last long. Because when her team started tracing the transactions, the truth didn't point outward. It pointed inward. Straight into the family. Insiders say Tamar went quiet. Not explosive Tamar. Not reality TV Tamar. Silent Tamar. The kind of silence that happens when your chest tightens and your body knows something before your mind wants to accept it. According to people close to her, the address tied to the purchases matched a place she knew far too well. Towanda's. That's when disbelief turned into nausea. This wasn't a hacker. This wasn't identity theft. This was personal. What makes this hit harder is the timing. Tamar had reportedly just started letting her guard down again. Therapy sessions. Long phone calls. Apologies exchanged, even if not fully healed. She had been trying to rebuild something fragile with Towanda, something damaged long before cameras ever showed up. Friends say Tamar had been helping quietly, covering dinners, picking up tabs, offering support without announcing it. She thought she was being a sister. What she didn't know was that, allegedly, the card she trusted with her life had become a silent open door. When Tamar finally confronted Towanda, sources described the exchange as tense, but restrained at first. Tamar didn't scream. She didn't accuse. She asked a question she already knew the answer to. And what she got back is what reportedly pushed her over the edge. Instead of panic. Instead of accountability. Instead of an apology. Insiders claim Towanda brushed it off. Family tone. Casual. As if boundaries didn't exist because blood did. One source alleges Towanda said something along the lines of, "Why are you acting like this? You're my sister." That sentence landed like a slap. Because to Tamar, this wasn't about money. It was about consent. About trust. About being taken for granted in a family dynamic where she's long felt like the emotional and financial safety net. Friends close to Tamar say that moment triggered something deeper. Years of feeling used. Years of being labeled dramatic whenever she set boundaries. Years of swallowing disrespect to keep peace. All of it came rushing back at once. That's when Tamar reportedly made a decision that shocked everyone around her. She didn't call another family meeting. She didn't go to social media. She called her lawyer. According to insiders familiar with the situation, what followed was a quiet but thorough audit. Weeks of statements. Receipts. Time stamps. Locations. Patterns. Not just one or two charges, but an alleged trail stretching back months. Purchases, just small enough to avoid immediate red flags. Spread out. Strategic. When the total was added up, people close to the situation say Tamar broke down. Not crying for the money. Crying for the betrayal. What fans don't see is what this did to her emotionally. Sources say Tamar felt humiliated. Not publicly yet, but internally. The kind of hurt that makes you question your judgment. Your generosity. Your instincts. She reportedly kept asking the same question over and over. Why didn't she just ask me? And no one had a good answer. Meanwhile, the rest of the family went eerily quiet. Group chats allegedly froze. Calls went unanswered. People picked sides without saying it out loud. And that silence. It spoke volumes. To Tamar, it felt like history repeating itself. The same pattern where her pain is minimized, her reaction scrutinized more than the action that caused it. Then came the move no one expected. Legal paperwork. Real paperwork. Names on documents. Allegations written in black and white. Friends say Tamar wrestled with it. She knew what this would mean. Headlines. Opinions. Fans dissecting family trauma like entertainment. But she also knew something else. If she didn't stop it now, it would never stop. When word of the lawsuit began leaking, the internet did what it always does. It exploded. Some people immediately sided with Tamar, calling it long overdue accountability. Others accused her of going too far, of airing dirty laundry, of breaking an unspoken rule about family. But those close to Tamar say this wasn't revenge. This was protection. A line finally drawn where there had never been one before. And here's the part that has everyone whispering. Allegedly, this wasn't the first time Tamar noticed something off. Just the first time, she decided not to ignore it. According to one insider, there had been previous moments she brushed aside, chalked up to confusion or family access. This time, the pattern was too clear. Too deliberate. Too disrespectful. As the story spread, fans began revisiting old episodes, old arguments, old moments that suddenly felt different. Jokes about money. Tension during conversations about support. Side-eye moments that once seemed petty now looked loaded. The narrative started shifting from another Braxton fight to something much darker. Financial boundaries crossed. Trust broken in a way that can't be undone with an apology tour. And the most chilling detail. Sources say Tamar didn't file out of anger. She filed out of exhaustion. The kind that comes when you realize protecting others has cost you your peace for too long. By the time the legal move became public, there was no going back. Because once lawyers get involved, this stops being a family drama and starts becoming public record. And whatever happens next won't just rewrite Tamar and Towanda's relationship. It threatens to expose years of unspoken dynamics. Screenshots began popping up in private group chats and gossip forums, messages that appeared to show Towanda downplaying the situation to mutual friends. Statements like, "She's overreacting," and "She knows I'd never do her like that" were shared wildly. But what made people's jaws drop was one alleged message where Towanda reportedly said Tamar had always taken care of things, and that she didn't think it would be an issue. That one line ignited fury online, because it perfectly echoed what many fans had long suspected, that Tamar's success had quietly turned her into the family safety net. As pressure mounted, Tamar finally broke her silence in the most Tamar way possible. Not a rant. Not tears. Just one icy sentence posted late at night. "I don't confuse love with access anymore." That was it. No names. No explanations. But the message landed like a grenade. Within minutes, the Braxton fandom split straight down the middle. Team Tamar flooded timelines with stories of being financially used by family members, calling her brave for finally setting boundaries. Team Towanda accused Tamar of humiliating her sister, dragging family business into the streets, and choosing money over blood. The debates got ugly fast. Old clips resurfaced. Old arguments were reanalyzed. Every eye roll Towanda ever gave Tamar suddenly looked suspicious. Then came the insider leaks that pushed this into dangerous territory. According to one source close to the legal team, the lawsuit wasn't just about reimbursement. It allegedly included claims of emotional distress tied directly to Tamar's mental health history. Insiders say Tamar's attorneys argued that the betrayal triggered panic attacks, sleepless nights, and a relapse into anxiety she had worked years to manage. That detail hit fans hard. This wasn't just a financial dispute anymore. This was about damage. Even more shocking, whispers began circulating that Tamar's team uncovered an attempt to extend or replicate access to her finances without her knowledge. Nothing confirmed publicly, but the rumor alone sent shockwaves through social media. Because if true, it suggested the situation went beyond carelessness into something much darker. Meanwhile, the rest of the Braxton family remained eerily quiet. Tony, famously distant from the show's mess, reportedly told people close to her that she wanted no part of the situation. Trina stopped posting altogether. And Evelyn Braxton, completely silent. No scripture posts. No family first quotes. No vague captions. Just silence. And to fans who know this family, that silence was deafening. Some speculated she was protecting Towanda. Others believed she was furious at both daughters. Either way, her absence spoke volumes. Behind closed doors, sources claim there were heated conversations Tamar wasn't invited to. Calls made without her. Plans discussed without her voice. That familiar feeling of being talked about instead of talked to came flooding back. And this time, Tamar wasn't going to chase anyone down to be heard. As legal experts weighed in online, opinions grew sharper. Some said Tamar had every right to protect herself and pursue accountability. Others warned that taking a sibling to court could permanently shatter any hope of reconciliation. But those close to Tamar say reconciliation wasn't the priority anymore. Peace was. Then a new twist hit. A leaked audio clip began circulating in select circles, allegedly Tamar venting to someone she trusted. Her voice sounded tired, raw, stripped of performance. "I keep being told I'm wrong for reacting," she said in the clip. "But nobody ever says they were wrong for doing it." That sentence broke people. It reframed the entire situation. This wasn't Tamar being dramatic. This was Tamar being done. As the lawsuit details continued to drip out, one thing became clear. Tamar wasn't just fighting Towanda. She was fighting a lifetime of expectations placed on her to carry the family emotionally, financially, and publicly, while being criticized for how loudly she carried the weight. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't escalate any further, a new rumor started spreading quietly but rapidly. Allegedly, there was a key piece of evidence Tamar hadn't released yet. Something that could change how everyone sees this situation. Something involving timing, authorization, and who knew what, and when. According to whispers, if that detail comes out, it won't just damage Towanda's credibility. It could pull other names into the spotlight. Names that have stayed comfortably silent so far. And that's the moment everything shifted from messy to explosive. Because now this isn't just about a credit card. It's about who enabled what. Who looked the other way. And how deep this breach of trust really goes. And if Tamar decides to let that last piece surface, the fallout won't just be emotional. It will be irreversible. By the time the third wave of leaks began circulating, it was obvious this story was no longer about a single card, or a handful of charges. It had mutated into a full-blown exposure of a family dynamic that had been quietly rotting for years. And the scariest part, Tamar hadn't even raised her voice yet. According to multiple insiders, the missing piece everyone was whispering about wasn't just another receipt or screenshot. It was a timeline. A timeline that allegedly showed when access was granted, who requested it, who approved it, and who stayed silent afterward. And that timeline, if it ever becomes public, threatens to collapse the carefully constructed narrative that this was all a misunderstanding. Sources claim Tamar's legal team discovered internal correspondence tied to her old financial management setup. Messages that suggest more than one person assumed Towanda's access was fine, because that's how the family does things. That phrase keeps coming back like a ghost. That's how the family does things. As if Tamar's money was communal property. As if consent was optional. As if success meant obligation. When Tamar allegedly saw those messages, something in her snapped clean in half. People close to her say she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She went quiet. That dangerous, final kind of quiet. The kind that comes when someone realizes the betrayal wasn't accidental. It was normalized. Behind the scenes, Towanda's camp was reportedly pushing hard for a private settlement. Not because they wanted peace, but because they wanted containment. Sources say there were late-night calls, intermediaries, even emotional appeals framed around family legacy and public image. Tamar allegedly shut every single one down. She said if accountability only shows up when the lawyers do, then it's already too late, one insider revealed. And then Tamar made another move that no one saw coming. Instead of doing interviews or dragging the family on social media, she allegedly authorized her attorneys to expand the scope of the case. Quietly. Methodically. The updated filings, according to leaks, don't just ask for repayment. They question intent. They question pattern. And most dangerously, they question whether Tamar was financially protected or systematically taken for granted. At the same time, old Braxton family values footage started resurfacing in a whole new light. Fans rewatched scenes where Tamar joked about paying for things. Moments where she brushed off comments about helping everyone out. Arguments emphasizing how she was doing the most. What once looked like humor now looked like foreshadowing. The internet turned forensic. TikTok creators broke down episode timelines. Twitter threads mapped out moments where Towanda mentioned money struggles alongside Tamar's career highs. YouTube panels debated whether the family ever truly respected Tamar's boundaries, or just tolerated them because the checks cleared. And with every clip, the public sentiment shifted further in Tamar's favor. Then came the most chilling development yet. A source close to the situation claims Tamar was warned, explicitly, that if she didn't drop the lawsuit, family secrets would start leaking about her. Not financial ones. Personal ones. Deep ones. The kind designed to distract, discredit, and destabilize. According to this source, Tamar's response was simple: "I'm not afraid of the truth anymore." That line spread like wildfire. Because if that's true, it means Tamar knows something is coming. And she's prepared to stand in it. Meanwhile, Towanda's silence has grown heavier by the day. No statements. No denials. Just subtle moves. Unfollowing certain people. Locking comments. Liking posts about loyalty and forgiveness. Fans noticed everything. And in the court of public opinion, silence has started to look less like strategy and more like surrender. Even more telling, industry insiders say Tamar has quietly regained control of parts of her financial infrastructure she previously delegated. New advisors. New systems. New boundaries. This isn't reactionary. It's corrective. As if she's closing doors she never realized were wide open. And then, late one night, Tamar posted again. Just 2 words this time. Paper trails. Nothing else. Within minutes, blogs exploded. Lawyers on Twitter weighed in. Fans speculated wildly. Paper trails meant documentation. Proof. Chronology. Intent. And paper trails don't lie when memories do. According to whispers, there is one document in particular that Tamar's team is holding back. One that allegedly shows a request being made on Towanda's behalf without Tamar present. If that document is authenticated, it could completely shift the legal framing from family dispute to institutional failure. And that's when things get dangerous for more than just one sister. Because if Tamar decides to expose how access was granted, who allowed it, and who benefited from her silence, the fallout won't be limited to blood relations. Managers, advisors, and long-trusted allies could suddenly find their names attached to questions they never expected to answer. And that's why this story feels unfinished. Unsettled. Poised on the edge of something irreversible. This isn't just a lawsuit anymore. It's a reckoning. A reckoning with the idea that family loyalty should override personal safety. A reckoning with the expectation that the strongest person in the room should always pay the price. A reckoning Tamar seems finally ready to let the world witness. Because if that final document drops, if that paper trail goes public, this won't end with repayment or apologies. It will end with exposure. And once that door opens, there is no closing it again. Before you scroll, before you click away, understand this: stories like this don't unfold twice. This is one of those moments where the truth is cracking in real time, where silence is louder than statements, and where the next leak could change everything we think we know about the Braxton family forever. Tamar didn't just file paperwork. She lit a fuse. And that fuse is still burning. If you've been watching this story develop, if you've ever felt used by someone who shared your last name, if you've ever been told to keep the peace while someone emptied your pockets and your spirit, then this isn't just celebrity drama. This is personal. And the next chapter is coming whether anyone is ready or not. So don't sit on the sidelines pretending this doesn't matter. Smash that like button, because every click tells the algorithm this story deserves to be seen. Drop a comment right now and say where you stand. Is Tamar right for taking this all the way? Or should blood still come before boundaries? And most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications, because when the next document leaks, when the next receipt surfaces, when someone finally breaks their silence, you do not want to hear about it late. This case isn't cooling down. It's heating up. The paper trails are being followed, the silence is cracking, and the truth has a way of surfacing when people think they're safe. Stay locked in. Stay watching. Because the moment this explodes, and trust me, it will, you'll want to say you were here before everything came out.